Hey YouTube, what's up? This is Imani. Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so I am super excited. I have a few different tips to share with you guys as far as microlocs go. So I've been having these for about a year now, and I have learned so much, and I think these tips will really be helpful, especially for you DIYers. Yeah, it's been quite a struggle, but yeah, hopefully you enjoy this video, and hopefully you are as excited as I am about this video. First, I'm just going to talk about my experience a little bit. At month 9 around my microlocs, probably the last video I made, that was when I kind of transitioned. I made the decision during that time that I was going to stop braiding and banding my hair personally for me, just because number one, I didn't like the tension on my hair and on my scalp. I hated sleeping in my braids just to wait until they dried. I hated the fact that even though I already have a retightening, I have to wear braids on top of that. So I'm just not a big fan of tension on my head. And another thing was, every time I wanted to wash my hair, like right before a shower, I couldn't just hop in to the shower and do what I needed to do. Like, I had to basically prepare to wash my hair. And to me, it felt like, I'm back doing loose natural hair. Like, I'm having to do so much before I even, just to wash my hair. And so, I wanted to be on this journey to feel free from like having to do so much to my hair all the time. So yeah, braiding and banding just felt like it was not for me personally. So around March, April of this year, I, washed my hair for the first time without braiding and banding, and I loved it. I could actually get in my roots and like scrape up the dandruff that I was having with my nails and actually, remove that stuff so I can have a healthy scalp. So that was number one. Already, I love that. Yeah, and number two, I'm actually able to easily rinse out product from my hair, so shampoos, etc., etc. So yeah, that was nice. Now, I did later on kind of run into like something that I know my hair looks crazy right now. I'm literally in the middle of doing my hair, so please do not judge me. But anyway, I ran into something that I thought at the time was like the biggest thing. What happened was, I noticed as I stopped braiding and banding, obviously my hair started to lock a lot faster, and I was like, oh, this is cool. Like, I'm basically locked now. Like, I literally don't have to braid and band anymore. Like, my hair is locked. It's doing what it's doing, which is great. I didn't have those loose spirals at the end of my locks like I did at first, because they'd all basically just bunched up and locked like after one wash. And so that was cool. Like, that was nice. But one thing that did happen that was like, oh no, I think I might have ruined my hair, was especially in the front of my hair where my texture is a lot looser than in the back where it's like very coarse. A lot of the hairs in the front, they bunched up a lot more than the ones in the back. So basically, like, I have these really fat locked ends and like a skinny root, while in the back, you know, it's still relatively the same shape. Front of my hair, the locks are a lot shorter and fatter on the ends. They are locked, but yeah. And then in the back, they are still relatively their skinny shape. And there's a lot of budding in the center of the lock. And so it's not that big of an issue, but a lot of the hairs in the front are short, and these ones are still pretty much stretched or long. So it kind of brought a little bit of insecurity out in me. Like, you know, I kind of like having my hair long and draped over my face, and that was like, when it's kind of short and looking like more like a bang in the front, then, you know, like in my last video, it kind of just like threw me off or whatever. And so for the past, I don't know how many months, 2, 3 or so, I have been contemplating whether or not I want to either comb these locks out, but there's so many of them. Like, there's just no way I have enough time to do that. And then I contemplated cutting them off, but I'm like, I don't look good with short hair at all. At least I don't think I would, so I don't want to find out. And then on top of that, I thought about combining them, like, you know, since I feel like I've messed up already on the size of them, why not just make them a little bit bigger? But the purpose of this video, the tips I have to share with you, so important for micro lockers, sister lockers, DIYers, people who self-retighten their hair. I have some tips that I really think are going to be helpful for you in your journey. And now I've kind of moved past that phase of like giving up on my locks, and I'm trusting the process, as they say. But I'm also learning about my hair a lot, and so that's helping me like be able to fix what needs to be fixed and still have my locks, which I loved, you know, and I wanted for a reason. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy this video, and I'm just kind of gonna, this is not gonna be very organized like I wanted it to be. You know, I have my 1-year-old son, he's just all over the place, and it's very hard sometimes to get things done. So yeah, just have some grace for me, have some mercy and kindness. But yeah, I'm gonna show you kind of like my setup a little bit, which I think will help. Here I have my mirror. Hello. I have my mirror here, and then my big mirror here. So this is like it's like a triangle mirror, I guess. Like, this part of the mirror comes out and folds so you can like stand it up on top of a counter. But what I've done here, so I can see the back of my head, I've used some whatever you call these, and I've stuck it to the wall, and I have like a little pin here or whatever. I've stuck it to the wall, and I put like an elastic around the mirror and kind of looped this in the back. Hold on. So I've looped it around so I can see my head from all sides, like when I start getting towards the back. And that just helps me keep my parts neat, because when you self-retie, you know, it is a possibility that you are going to interlock 2 or 3 locks together. Even if it's the smallest piece of hair, it can happen. So yeah, this helps me like see what I'm doing from all angles. And then the second thing I think you're gonna need, which is super important, are these clamps. Now, a lot of people, they use they use those tiny metal clamps. I don't like those. I think they add a little bit, I think they just tear the hair at the roots personally. I wouldn't use them in my locks. So I prefer these clamps. It helps me keep my hair taut, so I can pull it back and really just focus on the one lock that I'm working on. Other tools that I use, this is a crochet tool. You can find them on Amazon for super cheap. I'm using a it's got little hooks. That's gonna help me fix my lock bunching, especially in the front. And then I just use this needle. The crochet hooks that I bought, it came with these in the box, so that was cool. It was for like $7. At first, I was using the Nappy Locs tool, which I'll show you here in a second, once I can get it. So originally, I was retightening my hair with this tool. I'll compare sizes. Oops. I was using this for the really tiny locks. Well, I was actually using them for all my locks, but it was really hard for me to use them with the big locks. So I'm like, I need to get a normal tool to help me interlock. And I find this is just a lot easier because the handle, you know, it helps me. It's a lot easier to just, you know, keep a good flow and not move too fast. Yeah, so I think now that I've kind of gone over that, I'll just show you right now what I'm doing. And hopefully you'll be able to see why I think this is so important. So next thing that I think, you know, a lot of micro lockers, sister lockers, some issues that they face other than bunching is thinning at the root. Now there are several reasons this could be because of tension, could be because of stress, hormones, not drinking water, no proper nutrition. But I today am specifically gonna deal with hair that is like breaking off at the root, or not necessarily breaking off at the root, but as your lock grows out, there are hairs that are growing away from the lock rather than into the lock. And I'm going to show you how you can incorporate those hairs back into your lock, so that way as you keep retightening, you're not losing those hairs and your locks aren't thinning over time. So if you can incorporate those hairs back into the lock, you can keep the sturdiness, the foundation of your lock without having to combine, unless you genuinely want to combine. But yeah, this is just what I've learned over time. I've pinned these locks away and they are nice and tight. And the point of segregating the locks that are even tight and the locks that are loose away from the lock that you're working on is so that way you do not accidentally interlock them together. So I also think it's good to start from the bottom and work your way up rather than the other way. It's just easier for me, in my opinion. So I'm going to work on the next lock in that row. And I'm going to tuck this hair in my ear, my glasses, and take my clamp. And I'm going to go at the root here and just pull. And secure those locks away by putting those clamps around the perimeter. Here, I'm just checking all sides of the lock to make sure I don't have any hairs that are like loose or any hairs that are coming from another lock, so that way I can correct it. Okay, so with this lock, I'm not really having any issues of hairs that are growing away from the lock, but I am gonna show you how to fix that regardless. So if I did have hairs that look like that are growing away from the lock, which I do, I have a lot of them in the back that I'm gonna have to fix like this. But for this lock, most of the hairs are doing what they need to do. But anyway, if you did, what you would do is you would check that surrounding area around the lock and just smooth those hairs into the lock. You smooth those hairs into the lock. You can put a little bit of oil on your fingers if you want, or spray with water. Right now, I'm just doing it dry. But yeah, you would smooth those hairs into the lock. Make sure that they're not coming from another lock or anything like that. But make sure that they actually belong to that area. Then what you're gonna do is kind of like a palm roll technique or a retwisting technique if you had traditional locks, but you're gonna do it obviously on your Microlocs. So you're going to smooth those hairs, hold them with your 2 fingers, and then you're going to twist at the base of the lock. Which basically kind of forms almost like a retwist, like you were retwisting traditional locks. And you're just gonna keep that tight before you retwist. Not super tight that you can't get your tool through, but tight enough to where, you know, you can keep those hairs incorporated where they need to go. And another tip that is super important when you are incorporating loose hairs into the lock they belong to is you want to do a 4-point rotation. Normally I just do 2-point rotation on my locks, but specifically with loose hairs and incorporating them back into a lock, I make sure to do a 4-point rotation. And that is just to make sure I'm incorporating those hairs at all angles, not just 2 points, but I'm really reinforcing the fact that I want those hairs to go into that lock by doing a 4-point rotation. Hopefully you can see. I'm just checking all sides of the lock. I think I honestly just forgot which direction I went in. And one thing I like about doing my hair myself is I can go at my own pace. Because when you're sitting in somebody else's chair, they're trying to get your hair done as quick as possible. But, you know, a lot of times that means they're retightening really fast. And, you know, I feel like that has a lot to do with a lot of the headaches women get when they get their locks done. And it has to do with a lot of thinning as well, because when you're moving so fast through the locks, especially if your hair is dry, you are pulling your hair out from the root, like literally. So you're gonna see a lot more white bulbs when your loctician is moving too fast. Now on this last rotation, I feel that like when I put the biggest part of my tool through, I feel that tension on my scalp. So that right there lets me know like that's your last rotation. Do not try to do another rotation. And a lot of locticians will do another rotation. But when you're moving slow, you have a lot more control over, you know, that last rotation. Alright, so that's that. Now I really want you to pay attention to where my lock is right now, like just hanging. So I'm going to move these out of the way so you can see. Now this lock is like right here below my ear. And so the second technique that I'm going to show you, which has to deal with lock bunching. Now this lock really is not that good of an example. I mean, like, there's a little bit of bunching here, but it is not as severe as some of my other locks. But anyway, turn around in my chair. I just want you to pay attention to the position, like how long it is now and how long it'll get once I fix the issue of bunching. Now, a lot of people will say like, oh, you don't need to correct that, like it'll correct itself over time. I don't want to find out over time. I want to correct it now while I have a chance, while my locks are locked, but they are not mature locks, you know, they're still teen locks. So yeah, I want to correct this now. But anyway, this is not one of the biggest locks I have, but I think, you know, it'll do as an example. So I'm going to take my crochet tool, and the size is, I think this is the smallest size you can get. I didn't see any other sizes that were smaller, but I'm going to, so the technique here, you know, basically, if you've ever played with Play-Doh as a kid, you know how you take that Play-Doh and you like go like this in between your hands, and like that fat Play-Doh eventually smooths out and you have like two fat ends and a really skinny middle. You can even do that in between your fingers. That is the exact same idea that we are going to do with these locks. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using this to really direct where, you know, the focus on the lock and to help with rotating the lock. And then I'm going to use these two fingers just to kind of help smooth it down. And I think the best way to get a good like handle on it without, you know, being tired, because if you do this like in the lock is kind of like this, you're gonna hurt your wrist over time. Like I can feel it already. So really try to keep your arm as like straight as you can, and then, you know, the motion is this. Now with this tool, those hooks, I'm gonna have them face inward to my finger, to my thumb. I'm gonna have it face into my thumb. Now this is going to cause some scratching on your fingers, so make sure your fingers are manicured, and I recommend putting a little bit of oil on your thumb, on your fingers, just so that way there's a little bit of friction. If your hands are dry, please moisturize them beforehand so you're not like literally cutting yourself with this tool. It's not super sharp, but you know, if you put in enough force behind it, you can cut yourself. So just, you know, do this carefully. Okay. And the motion with this is just gonna be it's gonna be a little bit fast, in and out, in and out. And it's also, while it's going like up and down, in and out of the lock, it's also kind of going around the lock as well. So while it's going in and out, it's also going around it as I'm rotating it. The rotation is definitely helping that tool go around the lock. So yeah, I'm gonna start up here and work my way down. And again, pay attention to like how long it is now and where it'll be when I'm done. And I'm just slowly working my way down the lock, because the twisting kind of helps me pull the tool out of my lock. If I were going a little bit slower, I would get stuck in the same area. So this rotation of the lock is helping me move down the lock without really having to remove my tool at all. You will have some, you know, marks on your thumbs, like of where you've obviously kind of gone against the skin. I don't recommend doing this like regularly, so make this like a 1 or 2 time correction. Try not to make this a regular thing, because you will get tired, your hands will get tired. Do as much as you can within a day, but do it over time. Don't try to do it all in one sitting, because you will either mess up your locks, or you'll hurt yourself, or you'll just get frustrated. So do a little bit at a time, but it is so worth it. So even right there, you can see that it is smoothed down a lot. So I'm just going to continue right here and work my way down. When you pull the lock out, don't yank it out. Just try to kind of, you know, be gentle when you're pulling it out. Because, you know, those are still your hairs. They're locked, but, you know, take care of your babies. And the goal is to have a equal shape all the way down. I don't want any parts that I'm working on to have a part that's too skinny and another part that's too fat. Again, I want to have a pretty even shape all the way down the lock. So look at that. Look at that difference. See that? Look at where the lock is now. It's like almost touching my shoulders, whereas a minute ago it was like up here. So, you know, doing that definitely helped elongate my locks, and, you know, I still get that length that I enjoyed when I was braiding and banding, but now I don't have to, and I can still have that little bit of elongation. But yeah, that's it. And when I work on the next lock, I'm not going to, well, I have this section here of locks that I've done. This is also important. Don't put the hair, don't incorporate that finished lock up, incorporate it down. And this just keeps it, I can't see. This just keeps it down and away from the next lock that I need to work on. If you put it up, that your next lock that you're working on is up, so you have a likelihood of interlocking those together. So just pull it down and tight. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, let me know and I will definitely get back to you. If you really like this video, please share. I really think this is gonna be a game changer. So yeah, just share it with all your Microloc friends or people that have Microlocs or want sister locks. So that way when they run into these issues, they don't panic. They don't feel like they have to cut off their locks or start over. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. Have a good night, guys. Bye.